What is up, Lighthouse Middle School? How you guys doing? Hope you guys are having a fantastic Wednesday. I'm glad that you are at your home group this week. It's good to kind of continue to develop the routine of regularly meeting together on Sunday mornings, but in this case on Wednesday nights. With other believers, with people who can encourage you. We're going to learn about the Bible together, and that is a good thing for you to be a part of. So, glad you're there. A couple of quick announcements. First off, the next time that we meet all together, which will be the first Wednesday in October, what I like to do is have you guys ask questions, and then I do my best to answer them. Maybe I have an answer, maybe I don't, but I do what I can to look to God's Word and see what it might have to say about your question. And the topic this month is about friendships. We're talking about friendships in our lessons this month, and I'm assuming you guys have questions about your friendships. And so I want to answer those questions when we meet all together the first Wednesday of October. So you can scan that code. It is also on the bottom of your note sheets, and you can submit the question. It's anonymous unless you put your name, but otherwise I don't know who asked it. So, ask your questions. And another QR code that you can scan is the Devos. So this is 28 devotionals on the Bible app about what we're talking about this month. So this is another good habit to get into of reading our Bible regularly. And this can help you do it because you can set a little reminder on the app to go off at a time that you know you're going to be free. Maybe it's after dinner, maybe it's before you go to bed, maybe it's when you wake up in the morning. You can have a little reminder to go off on your phone saying, hey, remember to read the Bible. And it's going to line up with what we're talking about this month, which is friendships, and hopefully that's really helpful. So if you have it, I encourage you, scan the QR code, download the Bible app, and do that. And those are both also on the bottom of your note sheets. So you can scan those even when they're not on the screen. We have our Bigger, Better, Best challenge happening this month. Maybe your group has gone out already, maybe not. But your group, your small group, will go out with a quarter, 25 cents. You will knock door to door and see what you can trade up to that is the biggest, betterest, bestest thing. Then your group will bring it to on that first Wednesday in October to share, and the team or the group with the best item will win a pizza party for their group. So bring the best thing that you can trade up to, try and win. And really, it's just an opportunity for you to get to spend some time with your group, make some fun memories, have a good time together. And then lastly, we have Blitz coming up. Actually, tonight is the last night to submit your money. So Blitz is $80. It is an all middle school all-nighter that happens November 7th into November 8th. We do, in fact, stay up all night. We play dodgeball. There's laser tag, there's video games, there's bowling, ice skating, axe throwing, sky zone. As you can see on the graphic, it is a great time. If you have not brought your money, text your parents now real quick to say, hey, bring $80 to Josh or to church tonight when you pick me up because I want to go to Blitz because we want you to be at Blitz because it's a great time. So those are the announcements. Let's get into our lesson for the night. So, welcome back to Stick Together, a series where we're talking about friendship and adventure too, because those things tend to go together. And oftentimes in great adventure movies, each member of the team has some knowledge or abilities that helps the team out. And it can be really interesting to see how people can share their knowledge with one another in really intense situations. Sometimes in those movies, though, what seemed like a really great idea ends up being not so helpful. We've all been in situations where we needed guidance, but maybe got some bad advice instead. Maybe your friend told you to do something that got you in a lot of trouble. Maybe your dad just kind of gave you some not so great fashion tips. Whatever it is, tell about a time that you got some bad advice. I want you to share it with your group. 30 seconds on the countdown to discuss this question. Ready, set, go. Obviously, getting good, trusted, wise advice, it's not always easy. Most people, like dads with bad fashion sense, are wise in a lot of areas, but they can still get things wrong sometimes. And then there's other people who just are not very wise at all. Like in Jurassic Park, the original movie, there's this guy named Dennis. And this man couldn't have been possibly more unwise. He made a series of decisions so dumb, it's given us like 7 movies worth of drama. And of course, dinosaurs. Because Jurassic Park is this fictional amusement park where you can go see dinosaurs in real life. And Dennis is a computer programmer who works for Jurassic Park, but he's not a great guy. He decides to sabotage the park's security system, steal some of the dinosaur embryos, and sell them for a ton of money. Check it out.
There's the road. Thing, and then I tie it to that thing there, and then I pull down this thing here, and I pull it back up. My glasses. I can afford more glasses.
Now, you'll have to watch the rest of the movie to see Dennis' fate, but let's just say it doesn't end well. Sometimes, unwise decisions can get you eaten by a dinosaur. And that's an example of unwise. But when you hear the word wise, what do you think about? Maybe it's your grandmother, a mentor you look up to, someone smart you like to learn from, some 800-year-old bearded wizard guy from your favorite movie. Looking up to people who are older and wiser than us, always a great idea. But wisdom isn't something that's only available when you start to get some wrinkles on your face. In fact, you've probably got at least one friend who has some wisdom to share with you right now. And you've probably got some wisdom to share with your friends too. And we shared some stories of what we would maybe call unwisdom. But let's highlight the wisdom of our friends for a second. When was one of your friends wise? Again, we're going to give you 30 seconds to go ahead and discuss that. One was an example of when your friend was wise. Now, last week, we talked about a book of the Bible called Proverbs. It's all about wisdom. Wisdom is the ability to make God-honoring choices in whatever situation you find yourself in. And a lot of Proverbs was written by a guy named Solomon, and it's packed with wise advice about just about everything, including friendships. And here is actually the proverb that we looked at last week. This is on page 316 in one of these Bibles, or if you've got your phone and want to pull out the Bible app, that's fine too. We'll be looking at Proverbs 13:20. So big number 13 and then look for small number 20. This is in the NLT, which stands for New Living Translation. It says, walk with the wise and become wise. Associate with fools, which is the term that the Bible uses for not wise people, and get in trouble. And that makes sense, right? If the people that you're closest to are wise, you're going to start becoming more wise over time too. It's because wise friends are more likely to give good advice, make good decisions, help you learn new things or see things correctly, be a good influence on your friend group. And that might seem like a straightforward piece of advice. Hang out with wise people and you're going to get more wise. But it might bring up a few more questions for you, like, can I actually then only hang out with wise people? Or is it still okay to hang out with people who are maybe not exactly all that wise? Is wise something that you naturally are or aren't, like being tall or having brown eyes? Or can you become more or less wise? And we can talk about questions like that together. But before we get there, we're going to take a closer look at the guy who wrote the book of Proverbs, King Solomon. Solomon wasn't always wise. So how did he become the guy who wrote this book full of wisdom sayings? So let's look to the Bible again. This is on page 165 in the book of First Kings. So you look for the big number 3 and then go down to the small number 3, and then we'll read all the way to small number 14. Solomon loved the Lord and followed all the decrees of his father David, except that Solomon too offered sacrifices and burned incense at the local places of worship. The most important of these places of worship was at Gibeon. So the king went there and sacrificed 1,000 burnt offerings. That night the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream, and God said, "What do you want? Ask, and I will give it to you." Solomon replied, "You showed great and faithful love to your servant, my father David, because he was honest and true and faithful to you, and you have committed or continued to show this great and faithful love to him today by giving him a son to sit on his throne. Now, O Lord, my God, you have made me king instead of my father David, but I am like a little child who doesn't know his way around. And here I am in the midst of your own chosen people, a nation so great and numerous that can't even be counted. Give me an understanding heart so that I can govern your people well and know the difference between right and wrong, for who by himself is able to govern this great people of yours?" The Lord was pleased that Solomon had asked for wisdom. So God replied, "Because you have asked for wisdom in governing my people with justice and have not asked for a long life or wealth or the death of your enemies, I'll give you what you asked for. I'll give you a wise and understanding heart such as no one else has had or ever will have. And I will also give you what you did not ask for, riches and fame. No other king in all the world will be compared to you for the rest of your life. And if you follow me and obey my decrees and my commands as your father David did, I will give you a long life." So we don't know exactly how old Solomon was when this took place, but most Bible scholars think he was somewhere between 12 and 15. That means he became king when he was around your age. So it makes sense that he'd be asking God for wisdom, right? Ruling a whole country is a big responsibility. Here are some things you might find interesting about Solomon, though. He loved God. He showed it not just through his words, but through his actions, which is the foundation of wisdom. Not just knowing or talking about what's good and right, but actually doing it. He looked to examples. He wasn't making decisions on his own. He was actively looking for guidance from his father, who ruled before him, and tried to follow the best of his example. He was humble. He knew that he was young, untested, and lacking in wisdom. Even though he was king, he didn't think more highly of himself than he deserved. He was honest about how much more he still had to learn, and that's what humility is, right? It's seeing both your strengths and weaknesses clearly and knowing where you have room to grow. And he also asked for help. He could have asked anything from God, but he asked for the best thing he could have asked for, help. He wanted wisdom. He knew he couldn't get it on his own, and for that he needed God's help, and God gave it to him. And maybe this idea of wisdom seems kind of mysterious or hard to achieve. Maybe you look at people you consider wise and feel like, man, they're just a different sort of species, something you could never be. But the truth is, wisdom is something that you can gain over time if you're willing to trust in God and do the work. So what about your friends? Are they wise and helping you become more wise, like Solomon said? Do they love God and help you love God more? Are they trying to follow the examples of wise people, or do they just trust their own instincts? Are they humble or are they arrogant? Do they ask for help from God and others, or do they think they've got it all figured out? And what about you? Is your love for God showing up in your actions and not just your words? Are you trying to follow the example of people who are wiser, more experienced than you? Are you humble enough to know that you still have a lot to learn? Are you asking God to give you wisdom? It's one of my favorite passages in the Bible. It talks about how when we ask God for wisdom, he will happily give it to us. Solomon asked for wisdom as a kid. So don't think about wisdom as something you'll get when you get older. Pursue God's wisdom right now and pursue it together. Your friends need wise friends, and so do you, because wise friends will help guide you. And wisdom is one of those things you don't often think about it until you need it. Unfortunately, if you haven't collected some of God's wisdom, you don't have it when you really need it. And it doesn't have to be far away, but we need to ask and look for it, just like Solomon did. And in many ways, you might actually already know how to do that. If you had a set of directions that led you and your friends toward wisdom, it'd probably look a little something like this. First, it'd start by loving God. The Bible talks about how the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. God is the creator and source of all wisdom, so getting closer to God is going to get you closer to wisdom. Like I said, the Bible says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. It's the starting point of wisdom to want God and to want his ways. Next, we seek wisdom from God's word. The Bible is what we would call wisdom literature. And part of what it's designed to do is make you wise about God, make you wise about yourself and salvation through faith in the death and the resurrection of Jesus. Look to God's word. Got to learn from wise examples, from Jesus to Solomon to people in your life who you can look up to. We can learn a lot from how wise people live their lives, how they make decisions, how they follow God. We can humble ourselves. You don't know everything, and you're probably going to get some things wrong, and that's not an insult, because you know what? That's true of me too. We are all imperfect, and we can all be unwise at times. So when we're feeling like we know it all, we need to remind ourselves that, you know what? We probably don't. And then, like I said earlier, we can ask for help. Ask God for wisdom. The book of James says, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. Like I said, that's one of my favorite passages in the Bible. Ask others for advice. Asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. That actually is a sign of wisdom. And then finally, do something about pursuing wisdom together. And this might be one of the more important steps. If you and your friends really do want to grow in wisdom, you got to do something about it together. Put what you're learning about how to follow Jesus into practice. And you know what? When life gets challenging or confusing, you need wise friends to help guide you, and your friends need the wisest version of you to help guide them too. So keep searching for wisdom together. And when you've got a friend who's growing in wisdom, make sure that you stick together, because wise friends will help guide you. That's what we got for tonight. We're going to switch it over to our discussion time. I love you guys. I'll see you when I see ya.